Writer. I did entitle my talk One Small Step because, well, I kind of like Westminster thinks big and then one small step associated with it. But also, it just kind of shows you that you can think big, but you can start in small increments getting there. And that's exactly what some of the colleges do and what parents do and what friends do for each other. So my one small step is really going to involve actually a different college, so I shouldn't mention that too much, but it has to do with some concepts that Westminster promotes as well. All right, cross my fingers. Yeah, oh dear. Which button is it? Try that. Okay. The right side of the circle. Oh, there we go. Do those words look familiar? Anybody around here? College-wide learning goals, right? Global consciousness, social responsibility, and ethical awareness. Those are things that Westminster is trying to promote, and rightfully so, because you don't want students just coming out with a bunch of academic knowledge, but without the concepts of connection with other people and other societies and responsibilities. And the person who helped me in this big leukemia fight actually displayed all these things, and I'll talk about how in just a second. My story, here we are in Salt Lake, and this is animated now. My son did this for me. But my story really starts back there. Oh, dang it, did it twice. Okay, starts back 1991. 1991, I lived in Philadelphia where I grew up, and that's where I first heard of the bone marrow donor program. And I signed up at that time to be a potential donor because there was a young girl diagnosed with leukemia, and they had a drive going on in the vicinity. So I signed up for it. Didn't hear a thing for years and years. Maybe once they called me for a test, but nothing came of it. And years later, we moved out here to Salt Lake. And in 2012, I was sick that spring semester. As Allison could tell you, I looked like doo-doo. I felt like that. And people kept saying, something's wrong with you. Frankly, what I thought that one of those students who likes, and some of you have done this, and some of you are probably recipients of this, when they come up to you face to face and say, I'm sorry I missed class, but I've been so awful sick and I can't breathe, and right that close. I thought I picked up something from a student. Not so much. It was leukemia. I finally went to the doctor, and as Allison said, AML, acute myeloid leukemia. So they had to start, obviously, chemotherapy, treatment, but it also involved more workup. They had to see what type of leukemia, what background stuff. And one of those things, give it a second. Good. One of those things involved DNA mutation checking, which took forever, by the way, made me crazy. But there are 4 markers in AML that they start to look for that have prognostic indications built into them. If you have certain mutations, they go, yay, you'll do a really good job with chemo. You have a really good chance of getting into remission and surviving this. If you have other markers, they go, we hate to tell you, but you don't have a good marker. Who wants to guess what I had? I had the bad marker. I had one that dropped my chances down to less than 17% chance of survival with chemotherapy alone. That particular, oops, I didn't point it the right way. Oh, look, see how he did that? And it's going to wiggle. It was, he set that up for me. I said, go ahead. So it's a wiggly mutation. And I forget all the exact names, but it's a duplication of a gene in a chromosome, and it made my chances for chemo by itself bad. So the next step, while that sits there and wiggles, is they say they really recommend a bone marrow transplant, that if that went okay, it would increase my chances of survival to 75 to 80%. 17%, 75%. I said, yeah, let's go with the bone marrow transplant. That then involved further testing. At that point, for me, they test antigens on my cells that are proteins, basically, and they test 10 of them. And then they want to compare them with people who could potentially donate. The motley crew that they decided to test first, there they are my siblings. All those good-looking people, except for me at the end, They are all the people they first tested. None of them matched me. They all willingly stepped up. They all went through the testing and swabbing and whatever. Nobody matched me. And that's another nice little click that they didn't match me, so a big old cross should come up, hopefully. Yes, thank you to my son. Didn't work. But what does that do? It shows, and if I did that right again, maybe it'll fade and maybe it won't. Oh, there it goes. Good, okay. Sorry, I never know when to click it again now. So I fell into the group of people that's actually fairly large. 70% of people don't match siblings. They don't match family members. They have to go elsewhere looking for a possible donor. And that donor is usually in this registry. The registry gives me a much better chance and gives everybody a pretty good chance of getting a match. And you can see it's a pretty wide spread. One reason, and this is something I wanted people to think about with this talk, is if you are a white European descent, you're probably up in that 97% range. If you are a different ethnic group or an ethnic mixture, you're on the lower chance of matching because there's not as many of those people in the registry. So if you are of different ethnic backgrounds, I would encourage you to go ahead and sign up. So the Bone Marrow Registry, I think it's just going when I think on it. Okay, it's the National Marrow Donor Program. That's the company that starts all this, and that's their website, bethematch.org. Bethematch.org is a place where you can go on and you can sign up to be a donor or a possible donor. They'll send you a kit, and the kit you swab your cheek and you mail it in. Westminster last year had a drive here, and when I spoke to the woman, because I did part of it, the woman who was part of Be the Match, who was directing this stuff, she told me they hope for about 40 people to sign up. She said another local college who will remain unnamed, when they had the match there, they got 20 people after about 4 hours. Anybody here want to guess how many Westminster signed up? You know, yeah, 160 people. 160 people signed up, yeah. So it was really great. They did a good job. Let's see. So one thing to mention before I forget, because chemotherapy gives you chemo brain, they tell me, so that's my excuse for everything. But if you sign up, one problem they have with college-age people signing up is they change their minds. And you don't want to change your mind. I'll tell you about the process a little bit unless I talk too long, so we'll keep going. Blood cancers, though, a few facts. Every 4 minutes, someone's diagnosed with a type of blood cancer. Every 10 minutes, somebody dies from it. So during the brief time I'm up here, 2 people have been diagnosed, and 1 person will have died from it. Okay? And that global consciousness thing, here it goes. It's a global community. The National Donor Program is, as it says, national, but it's linked up globally to countries all around the world. When you look at all the countries involved, 22.5 million registered potential donors, all right? The next thing down, the 601,000 cord blood units, is many people when they give birth, okay, the women, I guess, when they give birth, the cord blood has stem cells, and those stem cells can be used to generate new blood cells in a person. They'll donate them, and they could use those if there's no other matches. And finally, of these facts at least, almost half are international, one or the other, come from different countries, okay? So it's a big global community with effects all around the world. Okay. Let's wait for it. So I think the next slide should say, there it is, can I help? Yes, you can help. Potential donors, like I signed up for it at one time, and in fact, you know when I finally got a letter? When they put me in the registry as needing a marrow recipient? Yeah. I got a letter that said, "Dear Sarah, you signed up for this 20 years ago. You could save a life." And I'm like, it's for me. Yes, I match me, you know. Yay, didn't work so well. Okay, so your chances, 1 in 500 could be called to donate. The preferred age range is youngsters, middle age. And again, if they test you, it's free. If you want to do it, they don't charge you for testing. If you're older than that, they want some kind of minimal amount. And the donation process, that's what scares everybody. Scares everybody because everybody thinks they're going to drill into your bones, right? Suck out the marrow, and everybody knows it hurts, right? They do that, but they do that only 24% of the time. 24% of the time they're doing that, but what are they going to give you? anesthesia, painkillers, they'll make you happy, and you will have saved a life, right? Okay. Right. Thank you. And just a wee bit more, and then I will shush up and leave. The simpler one, that is, like here, all they did to my donor, they gave her a shot, it builds up the stem cells in your blood, she comes back like a week later and sits attached to a machine. She watched the stinking Olympics. She was fine. She sat there for a couple hours. It wasn't drilling into bones. It was like donating blood. They just sucked out the blood, returned her cells they didn't need, and kept the ones they did need. So if you do sign up for something like this, you could help somebody's grandparents. They're my parents. I didn't pull anybody else. I did personal pictures. Or you might help, let's see if it does it again, you might help a father or a mother of a group of children. Or you might help some poor little kid who got diagnosed with leukemia, and he didn't. That's my kid with the stupid glasses. So, but it could be some small kid, okay? You never know. Finally, that's her. She took a small step. Her college gave her the opportunity, gave her the willingness, gave her the chance to sign up, and that's where she signed up. She signed up at a college drive. The 2 months or a month after she graduated, that's Linnea. She lives in Colorado. She donated. She actually saved my life. And that's her. So thank you. Thank you very much.